Thanks for joining us. Thousands of Montreal police officers marched to the Bell Center today for the funeral of fallen officer Mohamed Lamine Benredouane. The 34-year-old was killed on June 22nd after being shot while responding to a call about gunshots at a city hotel. 2 other people, including the gunman, were killed. Thousands of uniformed officers walked in silence, visibly moved as they gathered to mourn. The sound of bagpipes echoed through the streets of downtown Montreal. The city's police chief said the day would be a chance for SPVM officers to gather as a family and cry together. Quebec's premier also spoke.
I would also like to say a few words in English to acknowledge the many police officers who have traveled here from across Canada and from the United States. Your presence is a true honor and further elevates the dignity of your profession. Know that all of Quebec recognizes your courage. Your grief is and will remain our grief. May the memory of Officer Benredouane guide us. May his courage inspire us. May his sense of duty remain an example for the generations of police officers who will follow. Officer Benredouane has fallen, but he will never be forgotten.
The City of Montreal created a condolence book for the public, which can be signed at City Hall until Friday and then will be given to Benredouane's family. British Columbia is pursuing legal action against OpenAI for its part in a deadly mass shooting in Tumbler Ridge last winter. The February shooting at a local secondary school left 8 victims dead, including 6 children. BC Attorney General Nikki Sharma says the company failed to notify law enforcement of violent prompts. The shooter, Jesse Van Rootsler, made on OpenAI's ChatGPT platform ahead of the tragedy.
We've retained legal counsel in both BC and California to explore all avenues to hold OpenAI and its decision makers accountable. OpenAI is headquartered in California, and we are prepared to take this fight to them. Our focus is on following the evidence, pursuing accountability, and standing up for the people affected by this tragedy. That work will take time, but we are committed to exploring every available option at our disposal. No company or corporate leader, no matter how large, should escape accountability when public safety is at stake.
In April, families of the victims announced they were taking OpenAI and its co-founder Sam Altman to court in California to pursue landmark damage awards. 2 paramedics and a patient are dead after an ambulance collided with a transport truck in New Brunswick today, just west of the Confederation Bridge. RCMP say the victims are the 56-year-old male driver of the ambulance, a 23-year-old female paramedic, and a 77-year-old female patient. Police say the victims, who all died at the scene, were from Prince Edward Island. Mounties believe the crash happened when the westbound ambulance collided head-on with the truck on Route 16 in Melrose, New Brunswick. Police say the cause of the collision is under investigation. Prime Minister Mark Carney has arrived in Ankara, Turkey for this week's NATO summit. Carney is set to meet with leaders from Turkey, Ukraine, South Korea, and Germany on the sidelines of the summit. The NATO summit is expected to focus on a collective increase in defense budgeting as well as alliance unity amid an increasingly threatening world. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump, who was also in Ankara for the summit, once again brought up control of Greenland. Trump told reporters he does not intend to let Greenland be threatened by China and Russia.
Because Greenland doesn't help Denmark. Denmark doesn't spend money to really help Greenland, but it's an important part for the United States. And it's surrounded by China ships and Russian ships. And that's not going to happen. The ships, it's not going to happen. It was Greenland that, and it continues to be, that should be controlled by the United States, not by Denmark. And when they wouldn't go along with it, and with all the money we spend to help them with Russia, and we don't have to spend any money. We could remove all of our soldiers out of Europe. Because as you probably noticed, Europe's a very different place than it was 20 years ago. A lot different, much different. So much different, and they've got to be careful with immigration and energy. If they're not careful with those two things, you're not going to have a Europe anymore.
Trump also told reporters he will lift sanctions on Turkey and will soon decide on resuming sales of American F-35 fighter jets. Officials in New York City are keeping a close eye on a high-rise that appears to be unstable. The New York Fire Department says at around 8 a.m. Tuesday morning, it received reports of bricks falling from a 37-story tower on East 42nd Street. New York's mayor says structural issues were found on the 21st floor of the building.
2 structural columns have buckled, in addition to multiple cracks and sagging floors. The building remains unstable. I'm grateful to report that there have been no injuries at this time and that every worker has been accounted for. The NYPD has instituted a frozen zone from 40th to 45th Streets between 1st and 3rd Avenues. These streets have been temporarily closed off to both pedestrian and vehicular traffic.
Mayor Mamdani says engineers are working on ways to shore up the damaged floors and use drones to monitor the building so they don't have to send people in. Several buildings in the area were evacuated, including a nearby school with about 400 students. 6 boaters are lucky to be alive after a dramatic weekend rescue on Lethbridge's Oldman River. The rescue became necessary after their inflatable raft deflated amid turbulent river conditions. BCN's Landon Hickok has more on the story.
The Oldman River remained under a boating advisory throughout the weekend as the river continued flowing 3 times its typical flow rate. LFES crews responded to a 911 call on Sunday evening when a float became trapped on a weir on the Oldman River and deflated as a result. The occupants were stuck in recirculating waters for about 45 minutes.
So what happens in a low-head dam is that the water is pouring over that dam and then it recirculates at the bottom and it creates a turbulence that actually will trap objects, people in that water. And in this incident, those individuals were actually caught in that backwash, in that recirculating water, and they were unable to get themselves out of there. And had they come off their inflatable device, there is actually a huge chance that they could have been drawn down into the water by that hydraulic effect.
Crews from 4 stations and 2 boats were deployed to the rescue and successfully retrieved the individuals without further incident or injuries.
We deployed a device called our weir deck. That's able to move right into that turbulent water. It's an extremely stable boat, and we were able to just pull up and put pontoon on either side of their inflatable device, and then from there move those individuals from their device onto our boat.
LFES is stressing safety as river levels remain at 190 cubic meters per second as of Tuesday. The individuals were recreating on an inflatable raft without any personal flotation devices, which is still considered potentially hazardous even when river levels eventually normalize.
It's important to have the proper equipment if you are going to recreate on the river. You want to have PFDs. You want to have a inflatable device that is actually designed to go on the river. Your little floaty tube from Canadian Tire isn't probably the best choice. They won't last very well.
This is the second rescue LFES conducted this summer when crews rescued 3 individuals back in June under similar conditions. For Bridge City News, I'm Landon Hickok.
You can check out river advisories anytime on the City of Lethbridge's website and social media platforms, as well as the Alberta Rivers app for river conditions. There's optimism that a new medical program that kicked off at the University of Lethbridge Monday will help ease a shortage of physicians in southern Alberta. BCN's Naveen Day has more.
An innovative partnership between the University of Lethbridge and the University of Calgary's Cummings School of Medicine, established with funding from the Government of Alberta, Southern Alberta Medical Program, or SAMP, allows students to earn a University of Calgary medical degree while completing their education at the University of Lethbridge campus and in communities across the region. Monday marked the inaugural launch of the brand new program with 20 students in attendance. SAMP Associate Dean Dr. Richard Buck says the exciting partnership between the 2 Alberta universities will allow Southern Alberta students to stay close to home and help address the South Zone region's doctor shortage.
If you can recruit them locally and train them locally, then there's a better chance that they will stay local. So with that, we've been very deliberate in making sure that the preceptors that are coming to the program come from all across southern Alberta. So we do have a lot of our preceptors who are Lethbridge based, but we also have ones that are coming from rural areas and Medicine Hat as well too.
Being a rural family doctor in Pincher Creek, working in kind of resource limited areas, but also focusing strongly on education, especially in the clinical sense for most of my career, I felt that this was a really great opportunity to bring students from day one of medical school into these rural and regional environments to carry through their medical school. And so I think it's a really great opportunity also for faculty to be involved in education so that they're seeing these future preceptors in the classroom from day one.
The program is also beneficial to local health workers who are looking to upgrade their health education and obtain a medical degree. Lucas Proul has been a nurse at Chinook Regional Hospital for the last 10 years. And because of SAMP, he can obtain that degree without having to uproot himself and his family. He adds he and his fellow classmates feel support across the board.
Whether it be like Broadband University faculty or like the city of Lethbridge, it's fun to see so many people coming together under like a collective goal and having us be here. And you feel that everyone is always congratulating us and letting us know that they support us, and we definitely feel it as students.
And studying in a smaller city actually brings unique learning opportunities for students.
I actually did my undergraduate degree in Calgary, and so I'm familiar with a larger city, but that is what attracted me here to this program, and the idea of this program being a smaller program was really appealing. I think we're going to have really great learning opportunities to be one-on-one with preceptors and patients early on that you might not have the opportunity to do in a city, which I think really accurately reflects what it's like to be a doctor in a smaller area and to just have those kinds of relationships with people in areas like Lethbridge.
The Alberta Health Services Dr. Jobs Alberta website currently lists 87 openings, 24 of which are in Medicine Hat and 29 in Lethbridge. For Bridge City News, I'm Naveen Day.
Alberta businesses are being warned about a sophisticated business-to-business fraud scheme that's making its rounds. The Better Business Bureau says scammers create fake business email accounts and, in some cases, fake websites to impersonate legitimate businesses. Wes LaFortune, Media Relations with BBB, says criminals order large quantities of products from other companies, which are then delivered to third-party warehouses before being shipped overseas. He says one Edmonton business has reportedly lost more than $50,000 worth of merchandise.
The scammers tend to pose like they're quite large, legitimate corporations. It's a little bit of a variation on, a scheme that's been around a long time. It's important for the business community to know that it's just not one industry that's being targeted. It's all across the board, really. If the public becomes very aware of these scams, like business community becomes very aware of these scams in a certain community, then they'll go to another community. They target another community. So they're moving around all the time. So, I expect if Edmonton is kind of a hot spot right now, that it'll pop up in Calgary and pop up in Lethbridge. We know that's how they work. What they need to do, what's important, is for staff to be trained for these kinds of scams, because that's the best protection. If they think they've been a victim, report it to the police.
BBB recommends that businesses use extra caution with urgent or rush orders and verify customer information using validated contact details. Did you know Lethbridge has a twin in California? Our city is welcoming a delegation from its twin city of Culver, California this week. The 4-day visit is focused on strengthening cultural ties and sharing ideas between the two communities. The itinerary includes local arts, Indigenous history, and some of Southern Alberta's most iconic attractions. The visit also reinforces a partnership that has connected the two cities for nearly 4 decades.
We'll be touring all the museums and the cultural sites here in Lethbridge, as well as some unique things we haven't done before, such as the Military Museum. There'll be a side trip to 2 UNESCO World Heritage Sites at Head Smashed in Buffalo Museum, as well as Waterton. And then we have marathon runners for the first time meeting up here in Lethbridge. Traditionally, it could be similar sizes, sometimes a similar name. So you might have Grand Prairie, Alberta and Grand Prairie, Texas, or you might have their 40,000 and 40,000. And then we have some other meetings taking place during the week with people and squeezing that in between the Galt Museum and Fort Whoop-Up. They haven't seen the new exhibition hall here yet. And we'll be at the Japanese Garden. We'll be walking around Henderson Lake. So the benefit would be that we're open to basically facilitating people from Lethbridge, whether it be in the institutions or otherwise, wanting to link up.
And a quick sports note to pass along before we go to break. Kyle Lowry signed a one-day contract Tuesday so he could retire as a member of the Toronto Raptors. Lowry won an NBA title with the Raptors in 2019, and the team has announced his jersey will be retired this season.
I never thought I'd be here, and hard work, dedication, support systems, friends, family, they helped me be here, teammates, staff members, media, they definitely helped me be here at this point in my life. This is a special moment for me. Words can't really describe it. I always said that, I would retire a Toronto Raptor, and that was everything. This place is, I call it home. I mean it through and through. Everything about the city of Toronto, the country of Canada. It's done special wonders for me, and I appreciate it.
Lowry played 20 seasons in the NBA. Toronto Mayor Olivia Chow also named today as Kyle Lowry Day in the city. Some shocking news Tuesday in Canadian broadcasting. Rogers Sports and Media is shutting down its Sportsnet 650 radio station in Vancouver and Sportsnet 960 station in Calgary, as well as 4 other stations. The announcement comes just one day after Rogers announced it was buying the remaining 25% stake in Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment for $4.35 billion. Rogers says it will continue broadcasting Vancouver Canucks games on one of its radio properties in that city, but will no longer produce Calgary Flames broadcasts for radio. Canada posted its largest trade surplus in 4 years, rising to $4.2 billion in May. Statistics Canada says it's the largest merchandise trade surplus in 4 years, with exports moving to a record high. It says the results compared with a surplus of $3.4 billion in April, which was revised from its initial reading of $2.7 billion. Total exports gained 0.9% in May to post the 4th consecutive monthly increase and rise to a record $77.1 billion. Many federal public servants started a new work schedule yesterday that will see them on site in the office 4 days a week. But a lack of office space is delaying that plan for some departments, including Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada. A spokesperson says most of that department's employees will work on site only 3 days a week while it secures office space. Most public servants began working remotely during the COVID-19 pandemic, and core federal employees have been working 3 days in office since September of 2024. And now here's a look at today's markets.
The TSX was up 60 to 35,272. The Dow was down 130 to 52,925. The S&P 500 was down 33 to 7,503, and the Nasdaq was down 302 to 25,818. West Texas Intermediate Oil was up 367 to 72.22 US per barrel. Natural gas was up 3 cents to 3.28 US. Gold was down 59.60 to 41.0522 US an ounce, and silver was down 209 to 59.94 US an ounce. Feed wheat is at $7.97 per bushel, barley is at $6.42, canola is at $17.23, and corn is at $7.54 per bushel. Live cattle August contract was down 67 cents to $238.42. Feeder cattle August contract was up 15 cents to $360.65. Lean hogs are up 10 cents to $93.45, and the Canadian dollar was up over the past 24 hours and sits at 70.40 US.
Recapping one of today's top stories, British Columbia plans to sue the company behind ChatGPT over the deadly Tumbler Ridge mass shooting. Attorney General Nikki Sharma says no company or corporate leader should escape accountability when public safety is at stake. The 18-year-old shooter's use of ChatGPT before the murders is now the subject of multiple lawsuits by family and community members. The province intends to pursue damages, which would include the cost of building a new school. Another Conservative MP has resigned from the federal party and was appointed by Prime Minister Mark Carney to the Senate. What is happening to the Conservative Party, and what does this mean for Pierre Poilievre's future as its leader? Brian Lilly gives us the scoop. That is coming up next. Also, when you see news happening in your community, be sure to send us an email at info@bridgecitynews.ca. You can also visit our website or our YouTube channel anytime to check out more of our content and poll questions.